Staying organized is like, I think it's just about prioritizing what are the most important things in your life and how do you make sure that it all gets done. I mean, there have been days that I literally can feel my heart pounding in my chest like all day just trying to get it all done. But my kids are the reason that I started this. So like for me, getting to spend one-on-one time with my kids every day, getting to have dinner at the table as a family, and getting my work done, and knowing most nights I have to go back to work at night. But that's just, that's kind of what I signed up for.
That was Catherine McCord, and this is episode number 143 of the Chopped Podcast. Hey everyone, I'm Marley of the blog Namely Marley. I am your host, and this is the Chopped Podcast. It is the place designed for people just like you, bloggers who love food. Every week, my goal is to share with you thoughts, stories, interviews, everything related to food blogging so we could all learn together about what works with food blogging and maybe even a little bit about what doesn't. Before we get into the show today, I just wanted to talk with you about something that's really exciting for us. Actually, it's a couple of things. First of all, if you love the Chopped Podcast and you wish there was a way you could support the show, well, today is your lucky day, because now for the price of, let's say, a cup of chai tea, you can support the show via Patreon. Have you heard of that? Patreon, it's spelled Patreon. Patreon is a site that helps entrepreneurs get funding for some of the creative adventures that they're on. And I've noticed several podcasts have been using Patreon lately. And of course, I've been thinking about different ways to monetize this podcast. And, one of those being sponsorships, right? But there's this part of me that feels like I really love the current model that we're on, where I'm delivering content for you, really trying to help you grow your site and grow your food blog. Sometimes that's through just interviewing food bloggers and letting you hear their stories, and hoping that through some of that, you're going to get a jewel or a pearl of an idea that will help you take your food blog to another level. Sometimes I'm interviewing industry experts or people that really have a lot of knowledge. Like I'm thinking right now of Casey Marquis, who I had on the show talking about search engine optimization. You really can get a lot of knowledge from people like that. I really do work hard to try to find the right experts that have some experience with food blogging. And if they don't have experience with food blogging, I try to make sure it's very relatable if we have a situation like that. I can't think of anybody off the top of my head that would fall in that category, but I think you get the idea. We really do work hard to create a show that is going to provide a lot of value to you. And as a result, you may be thinking, I wish there was a way I could help support the show. And so that's why we created a Patreon account. You can go to chopped.academy and click on podcast and then click on support the show, and that'll take you directly to the Patreon page. Or you could go to patreon.com/chopped podcast. Either way, you'll see there are several different levels of sponsorship to choose from, including that one that's just a minimal cost, like I say, the cost of a cup of tea, all the way to others that can let you participate in a monthly group conference call with me. I would love that. So anyway, think about that. Go to the site, like I say, chops.academy, and learn more. Your support of the show is greatly appreciated. Now, on to today's show. Today, I'm sharing a blogger discussion. This is with Catherine McCord. She's of the site Weelicious. I was so glad to have a chance to chat with Catherine about why she started her blog, how her blog grew over time, and most importantly, how she does it all. She not only has a food blog where she posts 3 recipes a week, but she also launched a new program called One Potato. It's an organic, family-focused meal prep delivery service. Catherine is also busy with a lot of media appearances. She's appeared in People, Self, Real Simple Magazine. She's also been on Good Morning America, The Today Show, and a whole lot more. So she's got a lot going on. And I felt like there was, we all have a lot going on as food bloggers, right? And so sometimes we may look at the things that other people are doing. Like I know she's launching her own business and she's doing these things. She's on Good Morning America. We maybe have a tendency to create levels of importance to those things. But I really feel like we're all on the same page here, right? We're all very busy. We have so many things going on, and it just starts to feel a little, I don't know, like sometimes in the craziness of it all, you can start to feel down about it. And that's what I want to talk with Catherine about, to get some advice on how she handles her busy schedule, hoping that would provide some fuel and energy for you as well. I love that Catherine is a positivity pusher, and that's what helps her stay focused on getting her work done. I love that positivity vibe too. In fact, I've been reading this book lately on the inner mind of tennis. It's so, me, I can always think of a tennis analogy. I love the way that sports kind of can create this great metaphor for life. And interestingly enough, when I play in tennis matches, I am surprised at the devil that comes out inside of me. I feel like I can be a really nice person, and then I get in a tennis match and I'm just, I think I just get so mad at myself because I know that I can play to a certain level, and then sometimes in a match, that's not what's happening. So I've been reading a lot about what goes on in your head in a match, and what happens is we have a tendency to get super critical. I think there's this goal that if I get really hard on myself, it's going to push me to perform. Interestingly enough, the opposite is absolutely true. The more that you can spark the creativity and fun and the realization of, why am I out here in the first place? I want to get exercise. I want to enjoy myself. I want to, be my best. Well, all of that happens from being relaxed and confident too. And so I believe that is directly relatable to food blogging as well. The more we try to be hard on ourselves and push ourselves to get all this stuff done, I think it takes all the joy out of it. And I think the more that we can really, be positive with ourselves, Catherine talks about having this inner smile. I think that is just brilliant. The more you can create that inner smile for yourself, the more that you're going to tap into your zone of genius, and you're going to feel great about the work that you're doing. I also want to recognize that there are some days where it's just difficult to have fun with it. I get that. For me, if I have a day like that, I always feel like music is helpful. Music can kind of help get my mindset turned around. And of course, if it's the Indigo Girls, that is always, even if their song is depressing, there's just something about their beat, their harmonies, that just kind of makes me feel peppy. So what is it that makes you feel like you can come alive? So when you're having a particularly hard day, maybe you've got a lot of deadlines due and you're feeling a little stressed, or you've got some other things going on, you're just not in a good mood. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. Try to find some ways to be positive. And maybe one of those things is that you just have to step away for a second, for a little bit. Maybe it's to go meditate. Maybe it's to go write in your journal. Maybe it's to go for a walk. I always find going for a walk is helpful for me. Especially if I go for a walk and I end up calling Kara, then then I know I'm going to have a good day. So if you've got a friend like that you can call and talk to, I think that's really helpful too. So anyway, I hope these are some really good tips for you today on, the strength of positivity is what I like to call it. It's just finding your inner smile so that you can be your best and just be in love with the work that you're doing. So let's get straight to it. Here's today's feature interview with Catherine McCord. Hey everyone, I'm happy to have Catherine McCord. She's founder of the site Weelicious and One Potato, and she's on the show today. Hey Catherine, welcome to the Top Podcast.
Thank you for having me on.
Well, I am so looking forward to talking with you. We have a lot of fun stuff to talk about, but I wondered if at first it would be helpful for everybody if you could just talk a little bit about yourself and how, why it is that you started your site Weelicious.
So I had, why did I start Weelicious? Well, I've always been super passionate about food in general, and grew up, being very passionate about it, traveled the world starting at age 13, which was a young age to get to see the way that people ate around the world. And then I went to culinary school right after 9/11. I was living blocks from the Trade Center and was supposed to see the Institute for Culinary Education that day, and that just was it for me. I realized I needed to really follow my passion. And after being in culinary school, I went to worked at a few restaurants, catering companies, just really trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And then I had my son, and I realized I could cook a gourmet meal, and I had no idea how to feed a baby.
Yeah, that's true. That's funny.
It's a little opposite.
Yeah, exactly. So, what caused you to travel at a young age?
So I started modeling when I was 13. So the first, I spent a month in Japan when I was 13, and then ended up living in New York and Paris and, Africa, basically really all around the world. By the age of 19, 20. So it was really cool to see the way that people ate, like why some cultures want really spicy food, heavily spiced, fresh. It's just interesting. It's always been interesting to me and still is.
Yeah, I totally agree. But I have to say, I'm going to sound so terrible here, so stereotypical, but it seems like an unusual trajectory for someone to start out as a model and then go to culinary school.
Isn't that the obvious choice? I mean, come on. No, I mean, my grandparents were farmers when I was a kid, and they grew a lot of their own food. We went to U-Pick farms. So for me, it was actually quite natural because I really I grew up in Kentucky, so I had half of me was eating fast food, all the time, and the other half was picking sugar snap peas and helping freeze blueberries and eating like really fresh food with my grandparents. So it was, I've gotten to see, I'm very honest and open-minded to all cuisine. I don't look down at any of it because a Kentucky Fried Chicken biscuit is just as exciting to me as a good fresh California salad.
Yeah, but I think it helps for kids, especially to have this foundation of what real food and also like the understanding the quality of food. I think that really matters.
Oh, 100%. And I mean, Weelicious, which I started 10 years ago, based on my son, really is my science experiment of my three children, really like seeing like what they love and how does exposure help and how does getting them involved help? Because I think in America, we have a bit of an epidemic with this like picky eater syndrome and, overweight children. And there has to be a reason behind it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, my husband was one of those people. He was like the kid that would make the family pull over their car because he couldn't handle any onions on his hamburger.
I do love these. I love those stories. Yeah, and it's interesting. I mean, the guy that shoots video with me, he had like never eaten most vegetables. He thought like asparagus was the most disgusting thing ever. And I said, why do you hate it? He goes, because my dad didn't like it, so he told me I wouldn't like it. He had never even tried it until he started working with me. So I just think it's all food. So much of food is like psychology.
Yes, and you just have to keep trying. Like I hated tomatoes for most of my life, and then one day I tried it again, and I like them now.
Isn't it funny? I know. Just like that. I hated olives and avocados until I had my daughter, and who's like an obsessive avocado olive lover. And she was like, eat it. And I can't be sitting there be like, you have to eat kale, and I'm not going to eat her avocado. So that's how I learned to love it.
Yes, through the mouths of babes, right?
Exactly.
So you went to culinary school, and then did you start your blog soon after that? How did that happen that you decided to start your blog?
Well, I was living in New York, kind of between New York and LA, and really it was the birth of my son because I couldn't find my place in, I got to the point I didn't want to work a restaurant job 16 hours a day. It is grueling. And so in the kind of the beginning of blogs, it was just this little thing that I did for, 2 years, taking pictures of homemade baby food. And then I, got an audience and it went to toddler food, and well, that stage is really fast. And then it just became this idea of like one family, one meal. And I didn't want to be a short order cook. I wanted to make something that the entire family would love.
Oh, I just love that it's, such a great story. And you talk about shooting. Did you come with photography skills intact, or did you have to grow those?
Well, I after modeling, I was a TV host on a show called Loveline, which is on MTV, and a bunch of other TV shows. So I had that background. I was comfortable in front of the camera, and just started shooting a YouTube video every week for the past 10 years.
Yes. Cool. Yeah. But what about shooting the food?
Oh my God. I mean, it's hilarious because I almost feel bloggers, are amazing because
I know.
you have to literally know how to do everything.
And be an expert at it.
And be an expert. And if you don't know it, you have to teach yourself. And it is the most incredible community because, you know, I've helped friends do things. They've helped me. We all have to, like, you know, look to each other for help and inspiration. So, like, when I started my blog, I mean, there was no, like, I mean, now you have to be like Picasso of photography. You have to be Ansel Adams in order to, you know, get your image seen on Instagram. When I started, I had this like point and shoot, and it was like my pictures. Someone said to me, the recipes look great, but the pictures look a little bit like barf because I was taking pictures of baby food, and it just looked like it looked awful. And I had a point and shoot. You know, the colors were dull. It was like terrible. Now it's like if I shoot it, it's like you know, we're all in there, food styling and, you know, the plates and everything. So it's changed a lot. We've had to, you know, I've had to reshoot basically because there's about 1,500 recipes on Weelicious because I post, you know, 2 to 3 new recipes every week. So we're constantly reshooting everything too.
Oh, so you're reshooting the old posts as you go along?
Yeah, because the recipes are amazing. It's just like, you know, but now everything has to be food porn.
That's right. It's got to be food porn quality.
Totally.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll leave the old photo in the bottom of the post just to kind of, you know.
Oh, that's amazing. Oh my God, I love that. I'm going to use that. That's I like that a lot.
Supposed to look like, yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. But I actually love the way, you know, food photography has evolved and the styling. I do enjoy all of that. Do you like that process?
I love it. I mean, I did a TV show this morning and we went over there and, you know, did all the food styling. It's so much fun. You know, I think that what I love the most is that it's an evolving career where you're constantly learning and getting new skills. And I mean, I love, you know, watching friends who I know are great. And now you can reach out. Like I see people's videos all the time and I'm like, I'll just reach out and be like, I dig what you're doing. Sometimes I'll ask them, you know, like, what are you shooting with? What are you, you know, like, what are you uploading with? What, you know, just because people are very open. You know, it's like being an artist. You can't, like a painter, you can tell someone the brushes you use and the paint you use, but it doesn't mean that, you know, they're going to steal your style. It's just not like that. We all have different eyes.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. In fact, I talked with Matt Armandaris on a previous episode, and he talked about actually there's some value in getting somebody else's their photograph out that you love and just try to mimic it as a way of learning photography for yourself. You're never going to make it exactly the way they did because you don't have the same lighting or whatever, but it's just good skills and practice.
Yeah, Matt and Adam make me mad because they're such geniuses that like, I mean, there's no way, but I mean, but you have to. I think that's such a great point. It's like create a mood board of all the different photographers you love and what are they doing? Like what's up with their food styling? What makes them so unique and different and finding your style? Because I think once you find it, you're like, oh, wait, that's the moment.
Yes, this is what I've been waiting for.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you now, well, I guess you sound like you've been including video on your site for a long time, but I noticed that you have video of the recipes themselves too.
Videos of oh yeah. You mean with myself in them?
Sometimes with yourself, but I also noticed there's some that's like a top down and it's showing, you know, it's really cute and creative, showing like making the lunchbox. I love those. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I've been doing a lot of videos now on Instagram that are really just for Instagram and Facebook. So I'm always playing around. I think it's fun and important to sort of, again, always, you know, upping your own style and creativity. And Weelicious is really just a place of like happy, fun, easy recipes. It's not, you know, I don't want anyone to think like it's going to take you an hour and a half. You don't have to be a gourmet chef to make them.
I love this, Catherine, because I think sometimes it's so easy to feel stressed out by what we see out there. And so what I'm hearing you say is rather than be stressed out, just let it be something like, hey, I'm going to try that too, because I'm just going to be playful and experimental with it. Oh,
100%. I mean, I think that's when the most beautiful work comes out of your creativity.
Yeah, exactly. So what was the point on Weelicious' journey that you realized, I think I can turn this into a business?
Well, I mean, I was very set from the beginning. I felt that Weelicious was like my service to the world, that I was going to like help everyone, you know, get their kids to be great eaters. And then I realized I was working 50 plus hour weeks. And I was like, wait a minute, I got to monetize. I need to actually make, for my work. So it was about 2.5 years in that someone was like, wait a minute, you're working awfully hard. The business has changed a lot about the way that you can monetize. I always tell, just use what you feel like you're best at. Now as bloggers or influencers, you can be doing everything from, your own blog to like food styling, to photography, to producing video, to developing, recipes for other companies. I mean, it's like endless now.
That's great. And so early on, you knew you wanted this to be a business. And then it was just it sounds like to me, like you were just finding the right business model that worked for you.
Yeah, I mean, my goal I always wanted to write a cookbook. So, 2.5 years in, it was really ramping up, figuring out how to monetize it. And then for me, it was just, I hit a do or die point where I was like, I'm going to write a book proposal and I'm going to get that out there and really nail it. And so I started trying to do the Today Show and, more TV, because that was more of my background and I loved it. It was so much fun. And then really when I got to write Weelicious, the first cookbook, it's Weelicious, One Family, One Meal. That for me was like the most fun, exciting process. I mean, it was incredible.
What was so fun and exciting about it? Was it like experimenting with the recipes and
I'm
the book?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a very collaborative person by nature, and with blogging is all about being alone all the time. And I was spending hours being alone. Yeah. So once I started writing the book, I had an editor and a publisher. And, when we were doing the photography, I wanted someone else to do it, and a food stylist. So I loved getting to hire different people and kind of work as a team on it.
I'm so with you. I love being collaborative, and that's sometimes I miss that about, you're kind of like making all the decisions yourself. It gets kind of old.
Totally. I'm like, I don't know. I love being around people, and I want to be with people that are much smarter than me, so that, you can learn at all times.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So then from that, you started One Potato. Can you talk about that?
Right. So 2 years ago, I started a company called One Potato, which is an organic, family-friendly meal delivery company in 8 states out west. California, Arizona, Nevada, Washington, Oregon, Utah, Idaho, and Colorado. And it's every week you get a box with 3 semi-prepared meals. Many of them are based on Weelicious meals. And instead of, if you know some of the other companies, meal kit companies out there like Blue Apron, they're sending you every single ingredient. But for families, I don't have any time. I mean, I have 3 children. I'm so busy, but I want to cook. But I don't have time to shop sometimes. I want organic ingredients. I want my kids to come cook with me. I hated all the packaging with all the other companies. So really, we sat back and looked at what was out there and created a company that was has child pricing, free cookie dough in each box, that Cracker Jack surprise, so that the kids get to look forward to their slice and bake cookies every week. And it's been again just an amazing adventure of taking the Weelicious recipes for people that just don't have time to cook homemade every night, but this is homemade. I mean, that's the best part. You're getting to cook these amazing meals with protein, carbohydrate, vegetables, and it really encourages kids to start cooking from a very young age.
Well, and I would think also, it's easy to get in such a cooking rut, where you're cooking the same meals over and over. So to get something like that would probably inspire you to try different things.
Oh my God. I mean, you hear parents are like, if I have to make one more quesadilla, I will kill myself. So that's what I mean. One potato, all of a sudden you're like, I made oven baked chicken last night with biscuits and a huge salad or it's all things that last night we had ravioli with a tomato cucumber salad. The night before was salmon bowls with 10 different ingredients that we send you homemade, and all you need to do is broil the salmon with our delicious sauce. I mean, all of a sudden you're like, I just made a gourmet meal in 20-25 minutes and my kids are eating it. For parents, that's a bingo you can't even imagine.
So my big question for you, Catherine, then is like, okay, you know, you've been on the Today Show and Food Network and Good Morning. I mean, how do you do it all? I think there's a lot of food bloggers are to feel the same way. Maybe not on the same scale. Maybe they're not doing Good Morning America. However, I think there's some of the same principles apply. Can you talk a little bit about how you stay organized?
Yeah, I mean, it's been, look, I will also say that like when we started One Potato, we had to fund for it. So not only was it the fun of creating a food business, which you're like, oh my God, it's so fun, but we had to like find capital. So I spent the past year also becoming like a fundraiser. So the past year has been like this crazy adventure. And staying organized is like, I think it's just about prioritizing. What are the most important things in your life, and how do you make sure that it all gets done? I mean, there have been days that I literally can feel my heart pounding in my chest like all day, just trying to get it all done. But, you know, my kids are the reason that I started this, and it's still, you know, so like for me, you know, getting to spend one-on-one time with my kids every day, getting to have dinner at the table as a family, and getting my work done, and knowing most nights I have to go back to work at night. But that's just, you know, that's kind of what I signed up for. So, you know, you just kind of do it. But I mean, I'm lucky. Like I enjoy the majority of what I have to do. And I know that some of it's homework. Like I always, like when my kids are like, I don't want to do my homework. I'm like, yeah, well, I don't either. But yeah. we all have to do what we have to do.
Yeah. Sometimes it's about getting the butt in the chair and getting it done, right?
Exactly.
My daughter is a cello performance major, so that's kind of a big quote. You know, so you can spend all the time thinking about the cello, but if you don't put your butt in the chair and practice, it doesn't happen.
Yeah, but think like once you do put your butt in the chair, and all of a sudden you get to another level and another level and another level. It's the most gratifying thing. It's the hardest part, you said, it's getting your butt in the chair.
Yes. Well, you know, also I think I heard, you know, I bet this was a lot of risk on your part to go in there and ask for this money, and you know, you're putting yourself on the line. I think sometimes, you know, great rewards come from great risk as well.
Yeah, and I mean, I also feel that, you know, my kids, I impress upon them that like my job is like school, like it's all hard work, but it's something that makes me feel good. And then when you do so well at something, you do well on a test or in a cello performance, then you're like, oh my God, like I did that. And it makes the hard work, you know, make a lot more sense. So I want my daughters to know that like I'm a working mother and I feel really good about it. And the best part is like they get to eat my hard work every night for dinner. So I think it's fun for kids to be like part of understanding what their parents do.
I totally agree. And think how much, you know, you're inspiring them. They're seeing your hard work. They're seeing a passionate mother that's really involved with what she's doing. I think that's great.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, we'll see. You know, it's like, I guess life, like I treat Weelish as like a big test experiment, you know, but I think that that's probably what life is, unfortunately. We'll only know in 10, 20 years.
Well, it's so funny because I keep hearing all these people talk about the value of balance in life. And then I just recently read, like, you know, sometimes balance it's not what it's all cracked up to be. Like sometimes we get the most thrilling, you know, like think about endurance runners or you know, they put themselves to the test and you come through the other side, you know, proving yourself, and you feel so much better for yourself as a result.
And I truly don't believe that you can have it all. I mean, you hear all these people being like, you can have it all. I'm like, no, you can't, because I don't get to see my friends like I'd like to. I don't get to go to the movies or read a book, but I do get quality time with my children. And to me right now, that's the most important part in making this company successful. So, you know, I think that I keep saying like, there'll be a trade-off. Like when I'm 60, I'm going to have my buns in the chair, playing the cello, reading a book and watching my kids. So there's different times in our life for different things.
Yeah. Actually, that's what I was going to say. I sometimes feel like we live our lives in chapters. So maybe we can't have it all in this one moment, but maybe, you know, like I dream someday of living in a house with a big front porch, and I haven't had it yet, but I imagine someday down the road I will.
You will, because you're going to manifest it. It's going to happen.
That's right. So it sounds to me then like positive energy is really important to you.
It's the most important thing to me. It's the most important. I always tell my kids, like, if you just like feel the smile inside, that's what you're going to radiate. And It's by the way, it is the hardest thing to do. Not all of us are genetically wired to have that smile inside. So you have to have some inner convincing also. And just also, but by the way, know what your boundaries are, because I'm not good at many things. I can only teach myself so much. So I think leaning on those around us who are better than we are and being okay with that.
Yeah. What does your inner encouragement look like? What, like when you're having a bad day, what is it that you do that kind of turns it around?
I mean, I'm such a basic. I'm like borderline corny. I'm like, I want a hug or just something. And I also try to think about the things that are, what is most important. When those bad days, I think as you get older, your parents say this, like when you get older, but now I do see the other side of like, it is so, like our lives are so short, and what really is important. What's the stuff that really makes you feel good? Because that's the stuff to focus on. I said many years ago, I was robbed. Someone broke in my house and took basically, my grandmother's jewelry, all that kind of stuff, material stuff. But it was the best lesson of my life, because I realized none of that stuff matters. Like, it's stuff, you know what I mean? It's like, it's the feelings, it's the memories, it's all that's the most important things in your life. And just trying to, to always remember that.
Do you have things around your house or like, vision boards or things that you have around to try to keep you positive?
Yeah, I have that's so funny you said that, because this year was the first time I went out and bought a cork board, and it's right in my desk, and I look at stuff on there all day that reminds me. I mean, I created like this huge list of investors we were going to go after, and when we finally got our investment, it was, I look at that all the time, because I remember creating it and meeting with all those people and all the hours that went into it, and I look at it, I keep it up there. It's like terrible handwriting. It's like scribbled, but I'm always like, we did it. That was like a great, great achievement for us.
Yeah. So the companies that you were thinking about, and that all came to fruition?
It all came to fruition. So I think that's, you know what I mean? And I kept it, and I'll never take it down, because it reminds me, it was like the hardest point in our life when we thought that the company wasn't going to succeed, and we just kept going. And now it's just doing gangbusters, and it feels so good. But I mean, every day is hard. Don't get me wrong. There's no bow on top at any moment. It's always uphill. And that's another lesson we've learned, but it's good.
Well, I think what I'm hearing too, then, are a couple of themes, but one of them is persistence. In other words, that when you feel like things aren't working out, sometimes you just have to keep going.
Oh my gosh. I've said that once I'm turned 60, I want to do a regular entrepreneur meeting or, conference or something, because you want to be out there telling people that if they have a good idea and they really believe in it, they're going to make it happen. And, there's 10, 20 ways that you can do that. So that'll be my life work next chapter.
I'll be sitting on my front porch watching you then.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
But that's the other thing I think I hear you say, though, is not, having a really big dream and believing in it. I think sometimes it's so easy to have a dream and then you just, maybe you put a little bit of work towards it and then it's like, oh, I can never do that, or it's never going to work, or,
No, I want to say, if you really believe you have a good idea and people around are like, that's a good idea, I guarantee it's a great idea. So you just have to, the answer no does not exist. You just have to keep leading yourself to the right people. And I mean, I've always said, ask everyone, your mother's, grandmother's, sister's, neighbor. If you know that person, you got to get to that person, figure out how to get there, for anything, for any help, always ask, because people, I think, are much more generous than we give them credit for helping. We all want to help each other. And I think that's remembering that. Sometimes we forget. We think we're on that lonely blogger island by ourselves, but there's a whole community of other people that want to help and support.
It's such a good point, because I do feel like I think there's this tendency for food bloggers to be the kinds of people who like like to do most things by themselves or just, themselves and not ask for help. And I think that's something we we need to push against that a little bit.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, and yeah, always ask for help. I love it. I love seeing people help each other and grow and learn from each other. It's just, we want, at the end of the day, like being a food blogger or influencer, we all have our own unique styles. Like if it's food and then like health or like regional or whatever it is, but we are the voice. So you're not going to copy anyone. You're not going to, so go ask and, anyone, because, your audience is following you for one reason. That's you.
Yes. I see. So you think, it's possible that I may be afraid to talk to somebody else about my idea because they might take it. Is that what you're thinking?
I think there's that. And I think that it's like, if you love someone's video style or photography style or something, and you're like, you really would like love to know like what camera they're using or, what inspired their food style, whatever it is, I think people, and especially with social media, it's such like an evil beast that you're like, oh God, look what she's doing, but just like, thank God for now. I love Insta Story because I like being able to send people messages, just asking and just maybe complimenting them. And, you never know what people are willing to do or offer, collaborations, all that.
You are rocking the Insta Story. So do you share them a lot?
I Insta Story every day, but it's like, I love watching. It's so funny. I just think I love being a voyeur in what other people want to share about their lives.
I know. It cracks me up sometimes that I find, the things that I find that I really enjoy on Insta Stories. But it's a great way, I think, of sharing a little bit of the behind the scenes with everybody too.
And by the way, then we also need to all like do a once a week, like just turn it off and, and walk away, because I think that if you have that personality where it's like watching a group of girls in middle school and you're over there and they're all over there and you're like, it makes you crazy. Like knowing also that like, I need to like walk away from it for a minute.
Yes.
Knowing your own boundaries.
That's right. Sometimes I'll have a beautiful moment in front of me and my instinct may be to grab my phone and I'll say, you know what, maybe I can just have this one for myself.
Exactly. Oh God. Oh yeah. That is the balance. That is it's the hardest thing too, knowing what are your private moments and what are your shareable moments.
Yes. We just experienced the eclipse because we were on the path of totality.
Oh, amazing.
We had 2.5 minutes of totality.
Oh, that's amazing.
I know, it was pretty amazing. And, my thought was I want to shoot this, but of course you have to have pretty special equipment to be able to shoot it anyway. And we didn't have that. And so I just let myself enjoy the moment. It felt really good.
Isn't that the best? That is the best. And talk about a theme of our conversation. It's just like stopping, breathing, shutting your eyes and enjoying whatever that moment is for you. There's, I'm sure we all have moments, small and large, during the day, but being able to savor it. Sometimes I just don't even take pictures or do that. Like I'll be like, I'm not going to take a picture right now. I'm going to use the camera in my head, take the picture, because that's what's going to stick with me.
Yes, I love that. The camera in your head. That's really good. So do you have any mantras that you use that help you, stay positive?
Mine are generally just like this, like being happy. Just, my children meditate. My husband, they meditate every day. So meditation is very big in our house. Yeah. So we all try to keep our mantras private in our heads. And, so one of mine just, is that just happy, bright, trying to be bright. Because
the smile within, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I love that. Okay, so if you were talking to somebody who was thinking about starting a food blog, what would be your favorite tip to tell them?
My favorite tip is keep it narrow. Whatever, we all have this desire to make it about gardening and our grandmother's food and, everything. And I have seen that the most successful influencers and bloggers started off narrow. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Almost like a hashtag. You don't want to put the word hashtag food. You want to put in the hashtag, cream puffs in Japan. You know what I mean? So that like that small, narrow audience that's really looking for that. And as you grow, you can, and your audience gets to know you and really follow you and get excited about you, then you can lead them on your journey, which obviously will be larger and wider, but keep it narrow.
I think that's so smart. I mean, if I think about my own personal browsing practices, I love going to the sites where I know exactly what to expect from them. So that's probably what you're saying right there.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Okay. So Catherine, I have these fun questions I love to ask people at the end of the interview. Are you game?
I'm game, but if I am I going to lose?
No. There's no losing.
Okay, good. Okay. All right, let's go.
What's one food item you can't live without?
Ice cream.
Ice cream. No one's ever said ice cream. That's a good one.
Really?
Yes.
It's a childhood reference. Yeah, my mom wouldn't let us have a lot of sugar, and so my dad and I would sneak out like once a week and get ice cream. So it's like ice cream.
It's a special time with your dad too.
Yeah. Exactly.
You have a favorite flavor?
The more junk in it, the better. I don't know. Cookies and cream, stracciatella. Those are my two favorites, probably.
That's good. I love it. And do you have it after dinner, or is it any time of the day you have it?
I'm an equal opportunist. Whenever I drive by and I'm like,
yeah, time to stop. Okay. What's the favorite app on your phone?
I mean, it's lame. It's probably either Waze or Stop, Breathe, and Think. Waze is traffic, and Stop, Breathe, and Think is a meditation app.
I have several meditation apps, but I don't have that one. Is it a good one?
Oh, it's geared towards kids, but I'd use it. It's awesome. Stop, Breathe, Think.
Oh, that's cool. I'm going to have to check that out. I think I have, what is that big one that everybody has?
Headspace.
Yes.
Yeah, Headspace. My husband likes Headspace, but it's like an English guy that talks, and I'm always like, I don't want an English guy helping me. It just doesn't help me. And I'm like, he's distracting me.
I was trying to learn Spanish, and one of the guys that gave the tape he had a British accent. It's like, I can't learn Spanish from a guy with a British accent.
Exactly.
Come on.
Hilarious.
Yeah. Okay. You sound so crazy busy. I can't even imagine I'm going to ask you this question, but do you have any time for TV at all? And if you do, what's your favorite show?
CNN at about 11 o'clock at night. It's pretty sad. If I get The Bachelor, The Voice, or News, I'm happy.
Okay. Anything probably besides the Disney Channel or something like that?
Not even. Our kids don't even really watch a lot of TV. We're like board game family.
That's great. I think that's awesome. Honestly, I think a lot of TV geared towards kids is not quality TV anyway.
That's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, we'll talk about that next time. Okay. So Catherine, how can people find you online?
Oh, you can go everything Weelicious. So all social media is Weelicious, and all social media for One Potato is One Potato Box. And the website is weelicious.com.
Wonderful. Catherine, thanks so much for taking the time to talk with me. I had a wonderful time.
Me too. Thank you for your time.
Thanks to Catherine McCord for being my guest on today's episode of the Chopped Podcast. Be sure to sign up today for the Chopped Academy newsletter by going to chopped.academy and scrolling to the bottom of the page and filling out the form there. That way you'll be one of the first to know when exciting things like new courses are coming available. While you're there, click on podcast and then click on support the show, and you'll be directed to our Patreon page where you can help support the show for as little as the price of a cup of coffee a month. That's not so much for you, and it really makes a big difference for the show. Thanks to everyone for your support of the Chopped Podcast. Your reviews on iTunes and Stitcher really makes a big impact. We appreciate your reviews on social media as well. Please keep spreading the word. You inspire me, and I hope today's show was helpful and inspirational to you as well. Now go forth and be your best you.